And that is how we kick off the show today. Sweet Love by Philani Boo Boo, who happens to be in the studio, a singer-songwriter and creative entrepreneur. We're going to be catching up with her in the first hour of the show, alongside another friend of the show, Bridget Masinga, is going to be joining us via the phone. Hey, good afternoon. I hope you are having a great day thus far. It's beautiful weather outside, especially if you're in Johannesburg. I can't say much for Cape Town because I feel like I've been getting Cape Town weather quite off these days. But the rest of the country, I hope you are enjoying similar summer weather as we are here in Joburg. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to be talking the Folklore Festival, which is taking place this weekend at the National School of the Arts. And then we're going to be catching up with the folks from the Luries, looking at the Luries Creative Week and what's on the program for 2025. On the other side of 2 o'clock, speaking of Cape Town, from Cape to Malawi, Green Pop scales up their tree planting for climate resilience. So we'll have that conversation with the Green Crop COO around that. And then this is a different conversation, but somehow also ties into what we were talking about yesterday, just around our drinking habits as South Africans. We're going to be looking at illicit alcohol, which is becoming a growing threat to South Africa's future. So the CEO of the Beer Association of South Africa is going to be joining us for that. By the way, did you see... Speaking of that, but closer to that conversation, I was actually watching Carte Blanche this past Sunday. It was the Sunday. And they went to the guy's house who was formulating fake whiskey. Like, it was wild. So he has the ingredients and the recipe for fake whiskey, like, you know, the different components. And they ambushed him at his house, and he's been selling it to people. And what I found interesting was how he just pleasantly stood there, engaging them calmly in conversation and answering whatever questions that they had. And I could just see he's just a normal South African who's just trying to make ends meet. And he has this, I guess, skill. And he's selling it to people, you know. So we'll have that conversation on the other side of 2. Let's take a quick break and then we come back.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
This week on FC Meets, sports brand specialist and creative director Chama Malulega talks to us about the rising Yeleti sports brand. From school sport partnerships to athlete collaborations, join us to find out more. Tune into SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus on Saturday 13 September at 6 p.m. FC Meets, football made for community by community. Retain Child Game. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
Okay, so this year, by the way, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival invites you to 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz. From the 26th until the 28th of September across 4 enchanting stages at the Sandton Convention Center, where you'll be memorized by world-renowned stars like Esperanza Spalding, Hakeem Bazaar Trio, Jasmine Horn, Elaine, Amanda Black, Michelle Dengocello, Gabby Matuba, and many, many others. The list is long as my arm. Over 50 artists from the world descending upon Sandton. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now. And don't forget, we're giving away tickets on this very show, so you got to listen all the way through to the very end. Let's get into our first conversation today. Philani Boo Boo is joining us, and she's live on her Instagram, and we are live streaming as well. She's a singer-songwriter and creative entrepreneur and founder of the Folklore Festival. Bridget Masinga is also joining us on the line, singer-songwriter. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Well, listen, you look like, for a lady whose festival is coming up in just a few days.
Starts tomorrow.
You seem very calm.
Yeah. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I think what we try to do is you do the planning 12 months before. And then though, even if the funding comes in a little bit late, you've kind of planned. And I think the thing that we kind of lean into is that we do this for joy. So as an artist platform for artists, by an artist, it's really a passion. And so I'm energized mostly by the idea and the concept of making it happen, and not so much stressed about what I'm actually doing in execution, and just have much gratitude for being able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been at it now for a little bit, Pilani, because this is the 4th
100%,
edition
yeah.
of the folk festival. Lovely. And 4
Thank
years
you.
in, by now you've got the training wheels out.
You know what? There is a template. Sometimes we kind of change around dates and formats in terms of concept and curation. But yeah, I do think that, before this, I have produced other festivals, Delicious Music Festival, Johannesburg Comedy Festival. So there was a lot of training ground working with other friends and in producing events. So there is that part of it. But at the same time, I think some things go amiss because you get excited and you get trigger happy and you book more artists than you need, and then your running orders are going over. Do you know what I mean? And or you're like, oh yeah, I have a crew. I forgot the crew catering. There's little things that happen, but they're not train smashers. Absolutely, there's like a format and a template that we try to work with, and that definitely is giving me a lot of comfort and security.
Yeah, we definitely don't think about the back end. I think like festival revelers never think about the back end and the lead up to the actual day. I mean, we enjoy festivals, we nitpick at things, oh, this vendor, and oh, this is slow, and oh, that is slow. But we never think about just the preparation beforehand and everything that needs to be in place to make sure that the day when it comes, we're good to hit that green light.
100%. And, it's like little elements like when you plan a budget, you plan it while you're pitching for sponsorship or funding, right? And at times it can go through so many iterations where you need it to come in at a certain number and you start deleting line items, do you know? And then you come back like now and realize, I was trying to match the budget. So it's a push and a pull. And the back end is really first the artists. We try and make sure we know the value. We try and meet that value. We're a very boutique, very small niche festival, still growing. And we try to form relationships and build community first. And so I think a big part of budgeting is about your network and community. And as an artist, it helps, right, to be able to understand that framework. The other is that within 4 years, mitigating the challenges by trying to work with the same people so that they get the format, they get it right over and over again. So it's really an exercise in community and relationship building, which is exactly who we are, the folklore community. So there is a joy in that too.
Yeah. Speaking of community, Bridget Masinga is on the line, and she is part and parcel of this year, more than just the capacity of being a performing artist, from what I hear from the birds that whisper in my ears.
Tell me who the birds are.
I mean, those ones peering through the window.
What have they whispered?
This is why you guys are here. Bridget Masinga, how are you?
Hello, my queens. Ninjani.
Siyaphila njani?
Siyaphila.
Siyaphila Nkosi. Thank you for having me on the show. Hi, Pilani.
Hi, Butle.
Siyaphila sis.
It's only
Ngiyaphila,
a pleasure.
ngiright, ngiyabonga.
Why ungazanga?
Hello?
Yes, why ungazanga? Why are you not here?
Angizanga sisi kuningi on my end, hey. Kuningi kakhulu bengathanda futhi, and I think what stresses me so much is that I'll be at the SAPC around 3. I'm like, oh my gosh, why wasn't this interview around that time? Kuningi bandana wasaka, I would have loved to, but ngiyajabula ukuthi sila sonke on the call.
No, it's absolutely fine. Speaking of community, what Upilani was talking about, that essence of building community. For you, what was the initial attraction with the Folklore Festival? Why does it resonate with you? I think I know, but in your own words, the resonance.
Firstly, for me, I'm a girl's girl, and if a curated event is organized by an artist who is a female and who is part of us in the industry, I'm always there, be it as an audience member or as a performer, So I've been attending Folklore Festival. I think I went to the first and the third. And
not
I've
just
always...
attending, Sana, you also performed at the first one.
Yes. So I think it's it's how it's curated for me and how it's also surrounding the future artists of this country. I think I'm big on that, and I'm big on supporting each other as artists. So Upilani, when she approached us, I felt an honor as a solo act this time to be part of the storytelling series of what folklore is, and it was hard to miss. It was not an event that I could miss. And if I wasn't going to be there as a performer, I think I was going to come as an audience member even this year. So I'm all about community. I'm all about sisterhood as well. I think it's what drives us as artists.
Interesting when folks have sort of been at the inception of something, because as something grows and evolves, you two grow and evolve in different ways. And I wonder for you, having been there at the first and the third, performing at the first and then coming back and performing in sort of a different format at the first and then coming back again for this fourth edition, now in your own sort of evolution on this new journey, how do you sort of come to preparation on the one hand, what you're going to present to audience, how you want to present to audience, but also at the same time, there's people who follow you everywhere. They can sing all your music, they know all your sets. How do you keep, for those people, just keep evolving and keep bringing to them something that they've not seen before, even if they've seen it before? It is reworked and repackaged in a way that still engages them differently.
I think that's how privileged we are as South African artists. There's always a different element to our storytelling. First of all, just the lineup that I think I want to give it up for whoever picked these artists, because I think it's the story behind having Mautela Queens, Zawadi, the Pilanis, the Odwas on one stage. I think the thread is that storytelling, and I think for our set, we always make sure that we give a sense of newness in our performance and not treat it like a one-size-fits-all, when it comes to how we look on stage, when it comes to how we perform the songs on stage, it has to always bring a new story. So we have songs that will cater for the folklore festival, We have a folklore festival version of a certain song, so that we know, okay, on this day, we went to NSA and we did this. So for me, it has always been trying to tell a new story, because there's always someone new who never knows your music or is out there exploring. So you have to give it your best shot.
Absolutely. So this year, Pilani, you guys have curated under the theme #Kinfolk.
That's correct.
Let's expand a little bit on that, because it touches a little bit on this sense of community, but also there's a connection beyond just we are in a shared space.
Yes. So I'd like to lean into the idea of storytelling, as Witle has highlighted. I think, just commenting first as an artist and as a festival curator, is that when you create a world for people to contribute to. And that world is made up of people and ideas, ideologies, sentiments, a mission, a vision. And our vision and mission is to basically put forward multidisciplinary artists who are dedicated to African storytelling, indigenous knowledge systems, are passing down legacy through intergenerational dialogue, are talking about a part of ourselves as Africans that we need to archive, inhabit, and a shared belief system. So what happens as artists when you come to a platform? I don't create the same set for a Joy of Jazz or a festival in the forest as I would do for a festival that then says it's a festival of storytellers. We are a festival of storytellers, a multidisciplinary festival. And what we do is create a meaningful space for dialogue and engaging content. And the best way to curate the conversation, or at least to direct the conversation, is to have a theme. Last year we were We the Folk, 30 days, 3 cities, 30 years contemplating freedom because of 30 years of our freedom. And it allowed all the artists of different disciplines, literature, music, poetry, spoken word, to come together to share their perspective. It's work that already exists. But when we house it under a theme, people are able to navigate the conversation. They're able to read between the lines and contribute instead of actually being bystanders and watchers. We try to say, as Butler said, we have emerging artists. So we're not the festival where we're pushing tickets per se. I think we're at the place where we're defining a space for all of us. And eventually that world and that village will grow. And eventually we'll all see each other side by side with a common agenda in this, in I guess the African New Year, which is in September, on Heritage Month, not because it's kitsch or cheesy. Do you know what I mean? We need to get past where we speak about things once, but actually we lead towards them. So as the folklore community, we curate throughout the year. We have a podcast called Folklorish. We're trying to do things that are meaningful conversations. So when people engage artists like Butler Bendalo, they're not just expecting, get me up and dancing. They know that they can tell the story, that they are in a world that protects the world that they've already curated. When I do curate the lineup, I'm thinking about the world that artist has created for themselves. And the only reason I can resonate with it is because I understand it. Does it make sense? And so these are common pieces of resonance that we kind of amalgamate in the festival as a curative, I guess, agenda, if that makes sense.
I mean, quite interesting for those of us who are not ever part of the brainstorming sessions to understand how people come to putting something like this together. And when you talk about people or artists already having their communities and us being now in that essence of their community. It's something that I would not really have thought about. It's just a normal flow Joe. I just come to a concert and enjoy myself. But now that you've said it,
and that's what kinfolk is. It's saying your kindred spirits, our kindred spirits, we're all of kindred like mind. Let's not be in silos. Let's bring those communities together. And this year's narrative is about understanding what are those like minds, shared values, interconnectedness, creating sacred spaces for us to commune as community. Community is about communing, and communing is about exchange, sharing ideas, reinforcing identity, redefining who we are and ourselves. That's also a process of healing. That's also a process of expansion. So kinfolk is really so broad, but if you just say community, kinfolk, people understand beyond bloodlines. We live together. We're in spaces together. Let's find time to come together for good reason. And if in this case, a sense of belonging and an extension of recreating and reimagining ourselves as Africans and our value system.
Love it. And she's perfectly on time for the headline news. Let's go to Ondela. We'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says vandalism and illegal connections are major contributing factors to water outages in the communities across the province. This comes as residents of Westbury, Ebony Park and Zakane have embarked on protests today over water cuts and other service delivery challenges. Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Ndutuko Sibiya says the sentencing of 7 Chinese nationals found guilty on charges of related to kidnapping and forced labour is a victory for the department. And the Botswana government says progress has been made in getting medicines to different parts of the country. This after President Duma Boko declared the state of public health emergency 2 weeks ago. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
EFC's heavyweight title fight is live this Thursday. Elvis Moyo, the legend, a name whispered in the halls of greatness.
Elvis is the heavyweight champion of the EFC.
Now stands on the edge of his greatest enemy, Mutunga Jikasa. Triple H enters the Hex with a score to settle. Now redemption is on the line. EFC is live this Thursday from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
I mean, it was only appropriate that we play both the ladies' music. That was Buhle Bendalo coming through with Ewatch. Not me, then Buhle asking the ladies inside, as an Ewatch watch, like a watch? And they're like, yes, Bridget, like a watch.
Like a watch.
Like a watch. But I was also quite fascinated because, so I got a bit of a Xhosa lesson whilst we were playing the song, right, around like your last two albums, Kosi and Hele. And I didn't know it was like isiXhosa, like isiXhosa ngathini, what's the vernacular? What is the vernacular? Help me, Pilani.
The Xhosa derivatives of closing off a prayer.
I guess.
You know,
there must be
Xhosa
some
expressions
fabulous
for African spirituality expressions.
Yes.
Our namastes, our abundance, our light. Yes.
Yeah. You see, I was looking for the vernacular word because I thought there would be a vernacular word.
Amen. Our amen.
Our amen. Yeah.
I'm here for it. It then got me thinking, because then I was asking Pilani as they were sort of saying in the sequence of these expressions in his Xhosa, and I thought, does this imply, ukuthi somewhere in the genius creativeness of your mind, that there is a complete series to this body of work that you keep releasing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Also, the word Xhosi ngesinguni uma uzosho ibali uthi chos nganzonke. So for me to name my first album Chosi, it was me telling my own story, a story that was never told before, a story that was never told to myself even. So I was opening up to the newness that was me branching out from a band setup, you know. So I was also manifesting some sort of light when it comes to my past, some sort of understanding of what really it is that I'm trying to do by myself, you know. But also just surrendering to the unknown, because that is also part of my journey of understanding self. So these stories from these 2 albums are like a transition from trying to understand and opening yourself up to understanding yourself deeper, going into the understanding now, which is uhele, the acceptance, which is uhele, and the transcendence that comes from both these stories. So uhele is like konke makwenzeke, konke makukhanye, makwenzeke through me, to me, and with me as well. And if I'm also still called to be the vessel that I think I was assigned to be, then makube njalo, you know. So both these stories, I might come up with the last one. That
I think she just gave us a third album.
Yes.
I'm hoping I will close it.
Lovely. I love it. I love it. And then we'll be sure to remember that we heard it here. We heard that creative sort of unpeeling right here on the show. Let's talk a little bit as well in our last moment, because I know you're performing with your hashtag fam band, right, at Folklore Festival.
Yes.
What's in store for those who are coming through?
Ooh. I never plan like the energy that is brought. I just build it up as we go. For instance, I'm going for rehearsals today, our first rehearsal today. So we are somewhat going to build the energy, and I think people shouldn't expect what they know.
Yeah.
And should just be open to what they could receive, because none I don't know at the moment. Umoya for me now, you don't plan it. We just build up. That's why I also like attending shows as they start, so that I pick up all the energy and then I put it in the performance itself. But definitely sizokwenza, definitely sizokombela, you know, kuzoba mnandi, sizozazi kabanzi nathi as the fan band on stage. So people can just expect to float with us.
I love it. I love it. Last time I saw you performing, it was quite transcendent indeed. Like, it was watching you, as you say, you know, you let the energy move through you and you take the energy of the room and you just become the vessel. I was enamored. The entire table as they watched you, and it was, I think it was at the Gauteng Film Don. And the entire the entire table was just enamored. You did what you do best. And then,
Thank you for receiving.
Ms. Pilani, you were telling me, Uti, that the festival kicks off tomorrow.
Indeed, it does.
In different sort of
formats,
yes.
So the 11th of September, we've dedicated an industry day. We've expanded, I guess, and trying to expand as a festival into artist development. We believe that if we don't take on the responsibility to bring in the next, I guess, lot of contemporary folk artists, we're constantly going to be stuck as well when we curate, trying to find new things and new conversations to present to the fore. So there's a lineup of artists that most of them are unrecorded or not recorded. I don't know the correct English. So it's called an industry night that will lead to an industry day on the 23rd of September. We have an invisible jury that will review them according to a certain set of things that makes them bookable and performance ready, exportable. And thereafter we'll run, I guess, panel discussions the next week for empowering insight around what bookers, curators are looking for, also exploring the ecosystem of creative capital and how one needs to understand what their industry as DIY artists is made up of. There isn't enough space for a lot of labels to pick up artists.
Yeah.
We have to become the labels, the artists who do everything for ourselves. So we're trying to empower artists to do that. On the Friday is our kind of kickstart on the main stage. We have a DJ lineup with Mumthag, Bob, Bubbles, Something Brown, and the most important moment there is to allow the school to welcome us, because we're a platform of intergenerational dialogue. And essentially the jazz and pop band, the school orchestra, as well as the school choir will be performing, and some NSA drama department dancers. And they will be sharing what they work on throughout the year. We collaborate with them every single year. And then Andile and Luyanda Matope and Apiwe Bubu will be exploring South African compositions across spectrums of jazz in the last decades. Of course, not to generalize, but essentially that is our music, those are our stories. So there'll be storytelling, 3 pianos on stage, grand piano, and so we're really looking forward to that, to open it right, to open it with the vision of the festival, which is intergenerational dialogue. On Saturday, we have a kids area, a very immersive session, kids podcasts, book readings, book authors, performances, indigenous instrument workshops. It's packed. So we get to keep your kids. There's childminders. People can basically leave their kids in good hands while they too learn. So this is and then that we share a moment at 5:00 when the Mahotela Queens come on. Usually the drumming session happens and leads into the main stage, and they get to see a legacy act, the young people, and to experience what big stage is like. Gone are the days where you get to go to a festival with your family. So we're a family festival. It's our family day, signature day. Friday is a fireside. Thursday is the industry night. This is all possible if you go look on our website, www.folklorecommunity.co.za. You'll understand the themes. You'll understand who's on the lineup if I haven't mentioned anybody. And the tickets are on Cricket.
Wonderful stuff. I mean, listen, she's unpacked the entire festival for us, and it sounds like it's definitely a week long of fabulous interactive exchange. So if you are in Johannesburg, or you're planning on being in Johannesburg for one of the days, definitely go check out the Folklore Festival, and they hosted at the National School of the Arts, which is one of my favorite institutions. Buhle Mandalo, thank you so much for the time, Sisi. It's always such a pleasure, Siyabonga. May rehearsals go well. And to a fabulous performance. And of course, Ms. Pilani Bubu.
Thank you.
Congratulations on year 4. I think by festival standards, they say in business, if you survive the first 3 years, then you're good to go, right?
The international standard just changed. I used to think 3 and 4 and the break evens are fine. We're balancing. But I think they say now 8.
8?
Economies are changing, things are moving, fees are going up, costs are increasing. So they're saying by your 8th festival, you should be okay. Angas,
you're halfway there.
We're appealing to all the brands that are listening right now. Please,
you are halfway there. It's upwards from here only. That was Pilani Bubu, and she's the creative entrepreneur and founder of the Folklore Festival. You can go to Folklore Community.
Yes, .co.za.
Wonderful stuff. Let's take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Give us like a Rafiki one-liner.
Lalela, Pulapul, Simba, Kolasel. Tell me, who are you? No, here comes a person who says, who am I? I know who I am. Who are you?
Well, the storyteller is telling story, John Carney.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Give us like a Rafiki one-liner.
Lalela, Pulapul, Simba, Kolasel. Tell me, who are you? No, here comes a person who says, who am I? I know who I am. Who are you?
Well, the storyteller is telling story, John Carney.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. You are listening to The Full Circle.
Okay, we're still on the creative train, and we're looking at the Luri's Creative Week, which is happening, the 2025 program, which has been revealed with CEO of the Luri's, Pritesh Seraj, joins us now. How are you doing this afternoon, Pritesh?
All great, Bridget, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Well, you sound very festive. Clearly, you are amped and geared up for Luri's Creative Week 2025.
Absolutely. I mean, a month from today, we will be on our final day of Luri's Creative Week. So we're about a month away until it's actually all over. So we're very, very close and really looking forward to it this year.
Lovely. You've revealed the program for 2025. I mean, let's unpack that a little bit because there's quite a bit going on this year. And as per usual, we're expecting attendees and entrants from all corners of the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. We're expecting thousands of people from more than 25 countries around the world to be able to attend the Luri's this year itself. There's lots of amazing festivals from parts of the festival, from master classes and seminars, but also the famous things that we're known for, which is the famous Luri Awards and our famous after parties as well. So it's a full week of activities that are going to keep people really busy.
Yeah. 47 years of the Luri's Awards is quite the legacy. And of course, you recognize excellence and creativity in brand communications. And this doesn't just include South Africa, but you cast your net wide throughout the entire continent as well as the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely. We think of like great South African success stories. You have brands like Nando's and brands like Discovery have gone globally as well. But like the Luri's as a brand started in South Africa and now covers the whole of Africa and the Middle East. So therefore we cover a region of over 2 billion consumers. And what we really do is like help people who are listening to this get the best radio ads, best TV ads, just have a great experience with the ads that they're consuming regardless of where they are.
Speaking of great ads, one of my favorite, and I think maybe even last year you and I might have spoken about this, one of my favorite brands right now is Pineapple, the insurance folks, because they're just so cheeky. I love all of their billboards. And I know they got into trouble recently about something or the other, but for me, what was the best response was them taking out cheeky little billboards everywhere saying that we're supposed to cancel this and say we're sorry or something to that effect. But, well, here we are.
But that's what we want from our brands, right? To be human, to be real, to have a personality. And I think that's what we push at the Luri's. And Pineapple is obviously a Luri Award-winning brand as well. And what you look out there as well is like we're tired of, Bridget, like really, why should we be listening to boring ads or looking at boring ads and boring billboards out there? And this is what the Luri's does, is we challenge these brands to say, hey, like, give us the edgy stuff, give us things that really makes a difference in our lives, and we will choose your product and we will support you.
So this year's theme, The Great Hunger, let's get to understanding that.
Yeah, I think it's, after these COVID years, and we still have to mention it all this, you got to think about, do we have this hunger to actually do things and make a difference and like really have the energy to go out there and execute it? And that's what the Great Hunger is about. It's about, the creatives, the people who are out there, the brands, and even the people of South Africa who are going there, and the people of Africa and Middle East and going, do you have this hunger to actually do something amazing? And because when you do something amazing, it actually translates into the things that can be absolutely iconic. And so that's what the Great Hunger is all about. It's like pushing this narrative to say, we need to be amazing. We're an amazing nation. We're an amazing region. And this great hunger needs to be there fueling us in everything that we do.
Of course, you've mentioned that, the Luri's Creative Week, which is essentially almost like a month run, really, if we just think about all the peripheral events. We've got expos, we've got workshops, we've got master classes, and all of these also tackling different themes, right? We're looking at trends in the industry, sustainability, and various other things. If we talk sustainability from a advertising and creative perspective, what are we talking about? What's going to be brought to the conversation this year?
Yeah, top of mind is everyone always thinks environmental sustainability, and that also is exceptionally important, is how as an industry we can ensure that all that we do, whether it's from printing or creation of of the work we're doing this in the best way possible for our environment and leaving a legacy that goes forward. The other part of sustainability is obviously industry sustainability. We have a massive challenge that lots of people don't know. We don't have, for example, enough women coming into the brand communications industry. So that's the brands, the production companies, the agencies. And one of the things in terms of sustainability is showing people what an amazing and rewarding industry this is so that we can have more voices coming into the industry. So the week will tackle all of these topics. We're already doing it through, as you've highlighted, through different chats, through the judging that's happening right now, even as we speak. But what we do is we bring it to the public and go, you can be part of this. You can come into this industry and you can shape the way people think. It's one of those industries that you can come in and absolutely genuinely shape the minds of millions to more than 1 billion people around the region.
And you know what I've sort of loved observing from the fringes is observing how advertising as a sector, as an industry, really evolved itself to be representative, particularly in South Africa, to be representative of the society in which it functions. Because there was a time, for instance, when we'd see campaigns, we'd see things roll out on television or on radio that didn't speak to the essence of who we were as South Africans, or that spoke from a singular lens or an interpretation of what a community might be. And there'd often be pushback and criticism around, weren't there any black people in that meeting? Weren't there any women in that meeting? Weren't there any colored people in that meeting? And it's been interesting to see how really advertising has been able to be agile and hold the mirror up to itself as well, and really say, well, we've got to, in our boardrooms, we've got to reflect exactly who we represent, and the conversations that we're trying to bring out have got to be authentic to community, and that means we have to be authentic with representation within ad agency boardrooms.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you've had that observation, Bridget, because the people of the industry care so deeply in showing that they truly represent South Africa, as well as the rest of the countries across Africa and the Middle East, in the most honest way possible. And I think a lot of work has been done. You're right, there was a transitionary period where a lot of mistakes were made. And, we also have to be honest. Sometimes you're going to find that as we evolve as a society, we may find there's missteps. Things may not happen the way that make us feel happy. But essentially, there are good people behind the scenes who are doing their best to work hard to ensure that the ads that are put out there are things that really add value to our lives.
Absolutely. Is it sort of, I don't know, I mean, what is it like? You work in the industry, you're creative before you were CEO. What is it like when you're trying to capture the essence of such a diverse society as South Africa? Because even in our diversities, then there's nuance. No two black communities are the same. And no two black communities speak the same. Likewise, Indian community, colored community, Caucasians, the same. Yeah. I'm looking at Mark, my technician. He's just laughing.
There's differences there too. Yeah, I mean, if you look at communities. No, I get exactly what you're saying. I came from the brand side, not that pure creative side, and therefore I respect the work that's done. These days it's based. No one wants to hear about the boring research, but the truth is there's a lot of research that's done. There's a lot of research that's done. A lot of the ads are tested again and again before they go on air with different communities to ensure that it's giving the most uniform experience. So within a South African context, sometimes what you will find is the ad is designed in a way to show your lived experience. So as a South African that you've gone through, but other times it is done in a way to show the lived experiences of other South Africans that you'll find a connection with. So you go, hey, there might be these nuances to, let's say, people in the Western Cape. And you'll see an ad representing people in the Western Cape, but it's done in a way that says, I feel a connection as a South African. So ads are designed to act as bridges. They're bridges of thought, bridges of creativity, and bridges across communities so that we all, it celebrates the fact that we're all part of a shared human experience. And that's what they work really, really hard on right now.
Absolutely. You've added 4 new categories this year. Talk us through some of those. Comedic impact, very interesting.
Yes, one of the most successful ones already, which is really interesting. It's, one of the things is ads sometimes can get too serious, and I think we've all seen that. And one of the things we always remember and enjoy, like you mentioned with pineapple, is those cheeky, funny ads that really make us feel something and make us feel really warm and fuzzy inside. So we've added comedic impact as a way to celebrate those really funny ads, the ads that really make an impact in our world. I mean, the other categories, we've also done a Marketing Impact Award. So we want to recognize the people in marketing who are doing a great job at putting the best ads out there. And obviously new product communication. So in terms of any new products that have been launched, the New Product Campaign Award will recognize all of those work that's done when new brands and campaigns. So it's also a way of saying, hey, keep bringing us as South Africans new products and new services as well.
I mean, in our final moments, I want to just, Cecily ask you, is the unspoken rule of advertising still never go up against a baby and a puppy?
No, I think we've evolved to a point where we're a lot more edgy right now as well. So the real rule of it is, how can you actually put things that really make people feel something? That's it. That's the rule. It's if you're experiencing an ad that makes you feel something, that person has done the job. But if you see an ad and it doesn't make you feel anything, that ad has failed in its job. And that's where it really is. It's all at the heart and the motion of making people feel something.
I love it. Pritesh, thank you so much for the time. That was Pritesh Siraj, who's the CEO of the Luries. And of course, they are kicking off the Luries Creative Week 2025. It's going to be a robust program. They're bringing it to life in the city of Cape Town. That's where they go. It's the playground, the creative playground. And they have a lot of fun. And yes, you heard him say one of the things that the Lurie Awards is world renowned for are the parties. They know how to party. Ad people know how to let their hair down. So it's going to be some expos, some workshops, and some master classes. And some of those are also open for us who are not within the industries. So just be sure to follow the Luries. You can visit them at www.luries.com to have a look at the full robust schedule and see if there's anything there that piques your interest. And all of this is a build-up, of course, to the Lurie Awards, which celebrates and recognizes excellence and creativity in brand communications across Africa and the Middle East. It is just a few seconds to go before 2 o'clock. Ondela is standing by with the top of the hour news, and then we'll come back on the other side of 2. We're going to go from Cape to Malawi with a Green Pop, who are scaling up tree planting for climate resilience. And then we're going to have a conversation in that second hour of the show as well that is exploring illicit alcohol. It's a growing threat in South Africa. What needs to be done here? And we're going to be in conversation with the Beer Association of South Africa.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, Lesotho vows to water is being restored in affected areas, and Botswana receives medicines following public health emergency. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says vandalism and illegal connections are major contributing factors to water outages in communities across the province. This comes as residents of Westbury, Iboni Parker and Tsakane have embarked on protests today over water cuts and other service delivery challenges. They have blockaded roads with rocks and burning tires and prevented some learners from going to school today. Lesufi says plans are being put in place to restore water to affected areas.
Unfortunately, the anger is directed to us, not to those that are destroying our infrastructure, and not those that they have made it their habit to connect illegally or vandalize our infrastructure. But we hear them, we embrace them, and that's the reason why we are also on the international platform, because this international platform is also grappling with those issues. The demands are high, the budgets are going down. How do we do that? So we want to learn from international practice, because there are countries that have gone through the same pain, same difficulty. So they will share ideas with us.
Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Ndutugo Sibiya says the sentencing of 7 Chinese nationals found guilty on charges related to kidnapping and forced labour is a victory for the department. The 7 have been sentenced to 20 years imprisonment by the High Court in Johannesburg. The case followed a 2019 Hawks raid on a factory in Village Deep where illegal immigrants, including minors, were found working under inhumane conditions. Sibiya says the sentencing sends a strong message that labour-related matters will now be taken seriously.
People are going to know that if you disregard the laws of this republic, we are going straight to jail. But beyond that, it is sending a message to anyone who wants to come to this country, coming from different countries, who want to come to this country and do as they wish. That era has ended. The era of impunity, where owners of different companies come to South Africa to invest at the expense of our people, but also to bring in people from outside the country illegally. As you have said, what the judge said, the issue of human trafficking was at the center of what happened today, beyond the issues of labor matters. So it's a victory, it's groundbreaking.
The Plettenberg Bay Regional Court in the Western Cape has sentenced 2 foreign nationals and a South African for trafficking 2 young girls into the country. The charges range from a trafficking in persons, running a brothel, and living off the proceeds of prosecution. They were arrested in a sting operation by the Department of Home Affairs and the Hawks between 2023 and 2024. The court sentenced them to fines or 3 years imprisonment. All 3 were ordered to compensate the victims. The court also ordered that the foreign nationals be deported. Hawk spokesperson Zinzi Hani.
It is reported that on 16 December 2023, 2 young girls were rescued from a brothel located in a complex in George. Upon their rescue, it was discovered that they were trafficked into South Africa. Then the 3 were arrested and have been in custody since their arrest up until they were sentenced.
Government has called for collective support from citizens for children and teenagers living with cancer. The Health Department says childhood cancer is a major health concern worldwide, with the World Health Organization reporting around 400,000 new cases each year. The department spokesperson Foster Mohale says according to the National Cancer Registry, leukemia is the most frequently diagnosed childhood cancer in the country.
Raising awareness and promoting early detection are critical in improving survival rates and ensuring better treatment outcomes. Too many children and teenagers are either not diagnosed or are diagnosed too late. The department, together with its stakeholders, urge all citizens to become familiar with early warning signs of childhood cancer and to seek medical attention if any of the signs are observed. Therefore, timely referral to specialized care can save lives.
The Botswana government says progress has been made in getting medicines to different parts of the country. This after President Duma Boko declared the state of public health emergency 2 weeks ago. This followed reports of shortage of medicines and medical equipment in public hospitals and clinics. The press secretary to Botswana President Imang Mutapati elaborates.
Government took swift and strategic action to make sure that the public is provided with those critical medicines and medical commodities from the capital city to the furthest part of this country, the likes of Maun, Kasane, towards the border of Zimbabwe and the border of Namibia. Medicine and medical commodities have already arrived. They were in Kasane and the situation can be said to be stabilizing. There wasn't any medical commodity or medicine that was missing in Kasane.
Recapping the top story, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says vandalism and illegal connections are major contributing factors to water outages in communities across the province. This comes as residents of Westbury, Iboni Park and Tsakane have embarked on protests today over water cuts and other service delivery challenges. I'm Ondilambana for SFM News at 2:30.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Abapemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Mo and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I'm colorful. I get so nervous, I stutter. I am so clumsy, I stumble. I'm not so handsome, not in shining armor. I'm colorful. I'm colorful. Well, honey, you're the reason. Honey, this is treason. The king is gone, Rapunzel, let down your hair. I'm an old romantic stallion, you're clutching my bleeding heart. If I'm not good enough for life, had enough, let's make this fast. Who cares? I'll find my fish. I'm colorful. I get so nervous, I stutter. I'm not so handsome, not in shining armor. I'm colorful. I'm colorful. You left me up, take me higher. You fill me up with desire. You left me up, take me higher. You fill me up with desire. I get so nervous, I stutter. I am so clumsy, I stumble. I'm not some romance god, but does it matter?
actually think they were one of those transitional bands. They were one of those traditional bands that managed to transcend rock and roll and almost play in the arena of rock pop, if there's such a category. I think they call it Britpop, actually, like a Britpop category. Polytones coming through. As we played the song, Mark, who's our desk tech today, representing the fair-skinned folks, he's like, what happened to all the rock bands? I don't know, actually, hey, Mark? But I think a lot of the times, a lot of South African rock bands, because they're actually, rock and roll is rock and roll, and it has like a very international flair to it. So you can transport it almost anywhere. Because who were we playing yesterday? Just Ginger. And we had the same question, like, where's Just Ginger? And one of the members of Just Ginger is still making music, and making music with other people and for other people. So I think a lot of the time, South African rock and roll bands really just set themselves up to be able to export themselves internationally and play international arenas, international circuits. And it's easy to then, just start forgetting about coming back home to play for the crowds at home when you're earning the dollars and the pounds. You just kind of enjoy your life abroad. The Polytones coming through with Colorful. I love this song. I wouldn't be surprised if the song won a SAMA. Something deep inside of me feels like this album of the Polytones was actually nominated. I'll do a little quick Google research, unless you're a Polytones fan and you can tell me. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading all the conversations that move the nation, and taking things a little bit easy and a little bit light this afternoon. We thought we would catch up with Zoe Gold Angelucci, who's with the Green Pop, the Green Pop COO. So from Cape Town to Malawi, Green Pop is scaling up tree planting for tree resilience. Arbor Month is in full swing. My goodness, do we still observe Arbor Month? How are you doing, Zoe?
Hi, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we still observe Arbor Month. I hope people still do that. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be very honest, and I'm going to say in my adult years, I probably have not paid attention to Arbor Month, let alone Arbor Day, since I left high school. But it used to be the thing all throughout high school.
I know, right? Yeah, every year you're planting trees on Arbor Month. Yeah. Actually, in South Africa, DFFE, we have Arbor Week. So technically in South Africa, it's Arbor Week, which we do the first week of September. And then there is International Arbor Day, but I believe that's in April. Okay. And then at Green Pop, we just love the whole thing so much that we do the whole month. So for us, it's Arbor Month.
I love it. I love it. I promise you, Zoe, moving forward, I'm going to start observing Arbor Month. Well, I'm getting my garden back sorted this month, so maybe that was something inside instinctually saying, let's get back to being green fingers. Let's talk about, the work that you're doing right now, because it is in full swing, and you guys are in the business of conserving the environment. And one of the ways that you are doing that is through living landscapes. Talk to us about that project.
Yeah, perfect. So maybe just more generally, for those who don't know, Green Pop is an NGO. We're based here in South Africa. Most of our staff is in Cape Town, but we run projects across the country and also in Malawi, as you mentioned. In the past, we've also worked in Zambia and Tanzania, but mostly right now we're in South Africa and Malawi. And we run forest restoration projects, which is where most of our trees are planted, but we also do urban greening projects. And so Living Landscapes is one of our main urban greening projects that we're running right now, and it's been a really exciting project to be a part of. Green Pop's been doing urban greening since 2010. So we've planted almost 15,000 trees in our urban greening projects in 300 different sites in Cape Town, and we've also planted in Joburg and Durban and Pretoria. So we really have gone through a lot of different phases with our urban greening work. Living Landscapes is the latest stage, and that sees us working with community organizations to implement holistic urban greening projects. So that doesn't only include tree planting, as much as we love trees. We are doing garden projects in general. So it includes infrastructure and seating and pergolas and pathways and garden beds and even food gardens sometimes. So where we work with communities to see what they need and what their priorities are, and then we implement these green spaces in historically undergreened communities. So we're working with spaces that were very sidelined and weren't invested in for a long time, and now we're bringing these positive and healthy ecosystems into these areas.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about historically undergreened spaces, right? For me, the thought that jumps to mind is how we interact with green spaces in some of our communities, especially so in our communities of color. You know, you speak to folks from colored communities, you speak to folks from black communities, and we oftentimes have, I wouldn't say it's a negative sentiment around green spaces, but it's not a thing that we prioritize. You know, you'll ask, why are there no trees planted, you know, to the level that they should be in, like a Soweto, for instance, pick any neighborhood. And there'll be 10 reasons why the community has chopped down trees or decided not to plant trees. And the reasons make sense, but at the same time, you're also going, but does it also speak to the relationship that we have with outdoor spaces, with greenery, with trees, with living organisms outside of ourselves?
Yeah, wow. I mean, you just raised so many interesting and important points, which are things that we talk about and think about all the time at Green Pop. I mean, I think the reason for us having a disparity of green spaces is obviously linked to our history as a country. So, I mean, the reason you don't have trees in Soweto is because nobody planted trees in Soweto. You know, Joburg was a grassland, but now it's the world's largest man-made forest. But obviously that's not all of Joburg, that's some of Joburg. So the reason those trees aren't there is usually historical, and that's something that we don't only see in South Africa, but we see all over the world. All over the world, you see green space inequality, and you see trees actually being a marker of disadvantage or advantage. So that's something that we're trying to combat, and we're trying to make that a more equal distribution of ecosystems and ecosystem services. So yeah, that's the one point, I suppose, is like the historical and the social reasons behind that, and the fact that really the lack of green space in many communities is an indicator of environmental injustice and environmental racism many times. So it's something that needs to be actively addressed because it was actually actively created in the first place. You know, it wasn't an accident. So that's the one thing. And then, as you mentioned, I think, yes, I mean, green spaces sometimes aren't really valued by some people in these communities, but I think it's quite a complicated issue. What we hear often is that people see these spaces as being dangerous. So they don't necessarily want an open field or an open forest area because that wouldn't be somewhere safe for them to be. If it's open and it's not fenced and there's no security, and, you know, they just wouldn't feel safe. They would feel quite isolated, or they would feel like a tree kind of blocks their sight line and they can't see. And so that's something that's come up quite often in our work. And I think it is just, that speaks to our broader context of living in a country that has such high crime rates, and it's something that people have to deal with so consistently in these communities. So yeah, I guess I think it's not the people themselves. I don't think it's like, oh, these people just don't care or anything like that. I don't think that's the case at all. I think people are working within their context and doing the best that they can. But also, I mean, I think all of us really have lost our connection with nature to some extent. So the people who live in greener neighborhoods may just have more interaction with those spaces. But I think we're still kind of, you know, heads in our phones and in our work and in, you know, outside of the natural environment to some extent. So
absolutely,
that's another thing that we're trying to do at Green Pop, is really reconnect people with the planet and help people get, we say, active, not anxious about the future of the planet. So turning all of the climate anxiety into action and hope.
Zoe, let's pause the chair for a second. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back. and continue our conversation. And as you talk about getting people more active in this space, I want to know exactly how we begin to do that. How do we begin to shift conversation and also shift our perception and the reality or the perceived reality around our relationship with trees and the environment in general. It's just gone 20 past 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick pause. We'll be right back.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to The Full Circle.
We're talking to Zoe Angelucci. There we go. Angelucci, who is the Green Prop COO. And we're having a conversation on the back of it being Arbor Month, of course. And the Green Pop Foundation is sharing stories on the ecological and social impact of tree planting and urban greening. And we were just getting a broad understanding of some of the projects, the likes of Living Landscapes, which are urban greening projects initiated and partnered with communities that have been historically undergreened. And they've taken them all over to Philippi Village, to El Dorado Park, Stellenbosch, and they've planted over 2,000 indigenous plants with the help of hundreds of volunteers and corporate partners. Let's talk a little bit, Zoe, about how we begin to change mindsets around particularly urban green spaces, right? Because we've been having this conversation about urban greening, greening in communities, projects like Living Landscapes, but you need buy-in of community for these projects to be able to sustain and for there to be a generational impact. You need to change Bridget's mind around the environment, around trees, around the importance of, in order for her to then inculcate that kind of behaviors into her baby, who then ultimately grows up understanding the connection between what is human and what is environmental.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's something that we used to have, right? I mean, that used to be a part of people's knowledge and their understanding, and they were more connected to the environment. So that was something that was kind of inherently understood or learned from your parents or your grandparents. Whereas now it's not that's not automatic. So now we have to do education around these topics, and I think something that always comes back to me is like you'll only protect what you love and what you understand, right? So if you actually understand the role of the environment in urban areas and in natural areas, then you're much more likely to want to interact with those spaces and protect them. And so I think it comes down to really understanding that a park or a green space, it's not just, it's not for aesthetics necessarily only. It's not just a space for recreation. provides so many essential services that actually we rely on in urban areas. So a forest that is on the outskirts of a city is cleaning the air, it's providing water in terms of making sure that the water is coming from the sky and coming into the rivers, and it's cleaned and it's coming into the city spaces. In the city, trees help with stormwater runoff. They help purify the air. They help create protection from the urban heat island effect. So in cities, I mean, I'm sure you've noticed if you're in the city in the summer, it's much hotter than if you're out in a natural area. And so what we really need, especially in the context of climate change, is to understand that green spaces and nature in general provide nature-based solutions for climate change. So if we want to be resilient and adapt and be able to continue to thrive in these cities that we've built, then we need to bring nature into the city. And we need to make sure that we're using those nature-based solutions to actually tackle climate change and become more resilient to climate change, so that we're not having to just hide inside in the air conditioning all summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Every great cause, you know, when we speak about children, for instance, and championing children's rights and inclusion and things like that, one thing that often comes out is every great cause requires an advocate, requires a dedicated, focused advocate, right? And I think, for instance, when we talk about climate change, when we talk about forest preservation, tree preservation, I think of the late Wangari Maathai from Kenya. And I think to myself, we need more of Wangari. We need more, even in the context of South Africa. How important is it to have those voices of advocacy that also bridge the gap between community organizations like yourselves and government to ensure that we're all moving in a streamlined, focused pathway towards the same goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like actually in South Africa and probably around the world, there are so many people working on this movement. So we have countless NGOs and countless even municipalities running tree planting projects and running programs to protect the environment and educate people about the environment. And I think what sometimes happens is that just flies under the radar a little bit. So sometimes to me it seems like it's not really a problem of the projects are not happening. It's a marketing problem almost. We don't speak about the work that is taking place, and we don't necessarily hear the positive stories and the positive outcomes on the nightly news. You know, we focus on crime statistics and we focus on corruption and all of those things that are very important, but it does leave very little space for the hopeful stories and the large-scale hopeful stories that are really taking place in our country and around the world. So I think, yes, we need those individual people who can be advocates, but also the organizations that are working within these spaces need to find ways to better reach the general public and explain the message and show that it is possible to get involved and contribute.
Absolutely. In our last 2 seconds, for anybody listening, what would you say that they should get out and do this September for Arbor Month?
Well, obviously, you must go plant a tree. If you have a garden, go plant a tree in your garden or in a local area. Otherwise, please visit greenpop.org and you can donate a tree. You can actually come planting with us. If you have your company, you can come planting with us in Cape Town or Joburg. Otherwise, we have volunteer opportunities, we have internship opportunities. So you can check it all out on our website at greenpop.org, and we would love for you to join the Treevolution.
Wonderful stuff. Zoe, thank you so much for the time. That was Zoe Gold Angelucci, who is the Green Proper COO. So you heard it. Go out there and get your fingers dirty. It's always good to get your fingers stuck in the mud and in the soil and plant a tree. And if you can make it a tree that also produces something for your kitchen, even better. It's just gone 2:30 on Della standing by with the headlines, and then we'll get into Kids Corner.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says vandalism and illegal connections are major contributing factors to water outages in communities across the province. The National Prosecuting Authority has welcomed the sentencing of 7 Chinese nationals to 20 years in prison each for forced labor. The High Court in Johannesburg handed down the sentences today. And one of the chief negotiators for the 2006 Juba peace talks in Uganda has criticized the International Criminal Court's decision to try the country's wanted rebel leader Joseph Kony in absentia. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Dilipala Bantwana, bring you episode 41 of the Side-by-Side drama Season 4, focused on early learning in a group setting.
Say and say, side by side.
Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya Tina.
So, Babalwa, have you thought about starting a play group for the kids?
Ewe, Mam Cindy. And I think the kids have so much to benefit from playing together.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea, Babalwa. I'm so glad that you've taken the initiative. So, what sparked this sudden interest?
I just think it's so important for the little ones to have that social interaction and structured play.
That is true. That is so true. It's excellent for their development. It offers kids educational and social experiences, right?
Exactly. And it can be set up very quickly, which is perfect.
Well, the first thing you'd need is a group of interested parents. Have you talked to anyone yet, Babalo?
Not yet, Mam Cindy, but I was planning to. And I guess I should find a venue also, right?
Well, slow down, dear. You're putting the cart before the horse. Start by talking to other parents first. Then you can think about the venue, equipment, and the activities.
Right. Activities. I hadn't even thought that far ahead, yes, Mam Cindy.
Babalwa, a play group is more than just keeping the children busy. It's about fostering a love for learning, play, and interaction. And, well, it's also about the parents supporting each other.
I really want to do this right, yes, Mam Cindy. For the kids,
And you will. Just remember, it's not just about filling time. It's about creating a nurturing environment for growth.
Yeah, ne? You are right, Mam Cindy.
There's not. You. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, main control. Hello, hello. Yebo.
Okay.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that unscheduled musical mix, courtesy of some technical gremlins. We apologize for dropping signal. Not quite clear what happened from a signaling perspective, but some technical gremlins got into our system and caused us to literally drop signal on you mid-conversation. And so we ask for your sincere patience and understanding around that issue. But it seems as though all things are back, all systems are back, and programming can resume as per usual. So we'll pick up this conversation tomorrow because we've exhausted all of our time. Ashraf is standing by with his team to take you through the rest of the afternoon's programming. From myself and my team on the Full Circle, we'll see you tomorrow. We're about to sage the studio, and hopefully when we come back tomorrow, everything will be 100%. Again, apologies for that break in signal. Inshallah, God willing, we'll get to do it again.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Thank you, Bridget, and the team on the top stories. Teams working to restore water in Westbury and Coronationville and NPA welcome sentencing in forced labour case. For SAFM News, I'm Ondilambana, and a very good afternoon. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero says teams are working around the clock to ensure that water supply is fully restored to Westbury and Coronationville. The community has been protesting since the early hours of this morning, blockading several roads in the area with rocks and burning tires. Only medical personnel from Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital are being allowed to pass through. Police earlier fired rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. Morero is calling on protesters to allow the city time to resolve the issue.
So I want to apologize to communities this side that we're doing everything we can to get the system to recover. Once it reaches a certain percentage, we'll be able to provide water, and there will be no need for us to do throttling moving forward. So we are requesting for a bit of patience, and we know that they are really affected.
The situation in Ebony Park in Tembisa is relatively calm after residents embarked on a protest this morning demanding uninterrupted water supply. The residents say they only get running water for a few hours at night and the taps remain dry during the day. Resident Debucho Mnguni says they will continue to protest if the situation does not change.
As I'm speaking to you now, we don't have water. Our taps are dry.